What makes a good football manager? Getting the right players? Yes!
No way! Yes! Come on!
Decision making? Are you sure? Wheeling and dealing? Nah. Relying on star players. Listen, don't let me down, you know. At the end of the day, it's about getting results, man.
Yes!
Listen, this player's on a madness. Open packs, collect players, pick your team, and crush the competition. You think you got what it takes? This is next level fantasy football. Ultimate Fan. Build your legacy. Download the app today at ultimatefan.com. I'm killing it.
Episode 7 of the Ultimate Fan Fix. Welcome back. Brought to you in association once again with Ultimate Fan and presented by the Personal Barber Shaving Club. Subscribers, be sure to get your hands on your Personal Barber Discovery Box. Usually $24.95, worth £12.50. That includes free UK postage and packaging. And then we also have additional £5 Uber Eats vouchers for gold members and £3 for silver members. More information is available in the app. T's and C's apply and can be found in the description below. £8,500 once again will be given away by Ultimate Fan for game week 6, and we'll be previewing the upcoming round of fixtures. Joining me once again are Ultimate Fan contributors Tom Pearce and Reese Charlton. How are we, lads?
All good, thank you.
Yeah, all good here.
Yeah, and looking forward to another weekend of action in the Premier League. But I suppose we'll divulge in what we saw unfold across Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's fixtures. Tom, I'll come to you first. One of the stories of the season so far has been Brighton and Hove Albion's beginning to the campaign. You picked them out as your dark horse at the beginning of the season. They're the 6th best performing Ultimate Fan team so far with 38 points. And they're also the best performing base card. What did you make of their performance and win against Leicester City on Sunday?
Yeah, as I said before the season, their underlying numbers last season were really good. And now they're just sort of getting the goals to get the points. They are actually sticking the ball in the back of the net now. There was bits of fortune with the win. I think the handball decision for the Morpie penalty was a bit dubious. I'm not sure whether it was a penalty. And then obviously Leicester were denied twice late on because of offside, which one of them was again slightly controversial. But yeah, you can't sort of deny how well they've started unbeaten so far. And it's looking like it could be a positive season for them this season.
Yeah, Graham Potter's men with a brilliant start so far. Reese, the best Ultimate Fan team continues to be Chelsea with 61 points, albeit Liverpool have a better points per player total after game week 5. Mohamed Salah, of which is now the most in-demand player with Ultimate Fan, with 74 points accumulated so far, overtaking Mikel Antonio, who was, of course, absent in West Ham's defeat to Manchester United on Sunday. They eased past Spurs on Sunday, and a heavier defeat, had it have been inflicted on Nuno Santo's men, it probably wouldn't have flattened them either.
No, I mean, you look at the beginning of the season, and I'm going to say now, I'd be absolutely gobsmacked if Chelsea don't win the title this season. You know, the depth has been key. Everybody in the squad is playing the part. You know, there's rotation coming in and out. Ziyech and Havertz swapping out. You know, Thiago Silva's come back into the side. You know, they're making a lot of changes, and regular changes that seem to be helping them get through games. The substitutions were absolutely key against Spurs. You know, they weren't fully there first half, Chelsea weren't. And, you know, the key to winning titles comes from grinding results out of games that you think you're not going to win. And at half time, I thought Spurs could have actually got something against Chelsea. They weren't great, but they were playing well enough to get a result out of it. Chelsea, the defence is going to be key for them, and they've proven that they're holding out teams. You know, Spurs haven't been massively attacking this season, and they haven't set the world on fire, but they haven't been bad. I just think Chelsea are just the team to beat, and I think it's going to take a lot to knock them off the stride. Even with a red card, the only goal they conceded was to Liverpool, and even with a red card, they still looked they could manage the game, and they held out for a point at Anfield. And I just think Chelsea are going to win the league this season, and I think that should be the end of the conversation.
Yeah, well, I suppose more questions to be answered this weekend when they face Manchester City on Saturday afternoon. Obviously, another blockbuster heavyweight clash in store for Ultimate Fan players. Tom, Ismail Assar was head and shoulders above the remainder of the Premier League with 30 points after he scored twice for Watford at Carrow Road on Saturday afternoon in a performance which included 5 shots on target as well. But it's all looking a bit familiar for Norwich City fans at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately for them, it's not sort of through the lack of trying though. They got a lot of stick in the summer for sort of saying they're just coming up just to go back down, almost that they're content with that. But I think they spent more money than any of the other promoted teams, so it's not as if they weren't willing to give it a go, but clearly they're just sort of not good enough with what we've seen so far. They've got a few games now that are tough on paper. They've got Everton, Burnley, Brighton, and Chelsea, and really they're the only sort of winnable one is Burnley, and it just shows just sort of how important that sort of game against Watford was. Like even though it is so early on in the season, that if they did get that 3 points, they're off the mark, and they can move on from that. But still on 0 points, bottom of the table. It's it's not looking too great for them.
No, only 106 points per player so far for Norwich City after 5 fixtures. So looking fairly bleak, and they of course head to Goodison Park this weekend to take on Everton. Let's talk teams, lads. We'll move on to our Ultimate Fan squads ahead of game week 6. Reece, I'll begin with you. Bruno Fernandes picked up another assist and has been a model of consistency for Manchester United so far with 57 points, the best performing Ultimate Fan midfielder so far. James Ward-Prowse also an interesting addition to your squad.
Yeah, I got kind of lucky with my packs this week. So James Ward-Prowse was in my pack this week. He's a set piece specialist. It was too much to resist not putting him in my starting lineup just purely because he's on the corners, he's on the free kicks, and he's on the penalties. I think there's goals and assists all written all over that. Bruno, I was worried about the loss of returns due to Ronaldo coming back into the setup, but continues to be consistent. So he's remaining in my setup, and Man United take on Villa, who Villa have been inconsistent at best, and they've struggled away from home. I mean, 6 of the 7 goals they've conceded this season have been on the road. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bruno's involved in a goal. And Southampton, they take on Wolves, who were poor against Brentford. So the Wolves come into that game needing to prove something, and Southampton could easily cause some damage.
Yeah, Tom, Mohamed Salah nested once again last weekend, and as we mentioned earlier, the best performing Ultimate Fan player to date, and Marcus Alonso as well, who is 11 points clear of Reece James at the head of the defender standings as Chelsea kept a clean sheet at Tottenham. So very happy with your squad, I'm sure.
Yeah, I did quite well this week. It's the best I've done so far. I packed Harry Kane today though. Whether he'll get in the squad over Vardy and Salah, I'm not sure with how he's performed. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with my squad at the minute.
Yeah, I've got a statistic that might swing your mind later on in the show regarding Harry Kane, the North London derby this weekend, of course. My team have opted for Jesse Lingard. He scored 24 points in the last 2 game weeks with strikes against both Newcastle and West Ham as Manchester United welcome Aston Villa to Old Trafford on Saturday. I've also gone for Kieran Tierney after Arsenal kept successive clean sheets. at Burnley and Norwich on the weekend, and they face a Spurs side who have scored just 3 goals in 5 games thus far. Alan Saint-Maximin as well has accumulated 39 points to date after his goal against Leeds, and Rafinha netted once again last weekend in the same fixture, and he has my golden boot once again. Prediction time, lads. Just to conclude the show, we'll do another quick fire preview of each of the 10 fixtures ahead of game week 6 and an ultimate fan player for you to watch should you have packed that player in your squad. We'll give you a reason why you should sign with them in your 6. Tom, I'll start with you. Probably the most intriguing fixture of the weekend, Chelsea against Manchester City. How do you see this one going, and who's your man to watch?
Well, Chelsea sort of coming on the back of that sort of comfortable win over Spurs. They could have easily won by more, whereas City drew to Southampton last time out. It was a bit unlike them. They failed to hit the target until the 90th minute, and you know, Guardiola sides are usually sort of all-out attack, peppering the opposition goal. But Tuchel and Guardiola have faced each other 3 times in England in all competitions so far, and Tuchel's come out on top in all of them, including that Champions League win back in May. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Chelsea win. I think Tuchel's going to keep up that sort of winning run over Guardiola, and my player to watch is actually going to be Marcos Alonso. He's the best performing defender in the game, as you said. He's already managed a goal and assist this season. He's also got 2 goal contributions against City, including a goal in the last meeting in the league between the 2 sides.
Home win for Tom then, and obviously expecting Chelsea to maintain their strong start to the season and I suppose stay on the perch at the head of the ultimate fan standings for team cars, I should say. The other 12:30 game on Saturday, Reece sees Aston Villa head to Old Trafford.
Yeah, I mean, Man United survived a late scare against West Ham, and you know they'll aim to continue their unbeaten run in the Premier League. You know, Villa, you know, they played well against Everton, and it was a convincing victory at the end of the day. But the inconsistency, you know, will not help them on the road. I just feel Man United shouldn't struggle. Villa concede too many goals away from home. I think the result could well be, 2 or 3 to Man United. I'm going to go with 3-0 Man United. My player to watch, I haven't got any statistics behind it, but I just think it's going to be an interesting matchup. Is Mason Greenwood. He's going to face, Matt Targett on that wing, and Matt Targett has been average at best. He's been probably the weak link in that Villa defence as of late, and I think Mason Greenwood could absolutely cut him up on that wing. So I'm going to go with Mason Greenwood as my player to watch.
Greenwood, and obviously a heavy defeat for Villa. Tom doesn't look particularly pleased with that, particularly after their 5 performance against Everton at the weekend. But they may well have their work cut out at Old Trafford on Saturday afternoon. The next fixture, we remain in the northwest, but we move to Merseyside. Everton host Norwich City. Everton have only won 3 of the last 12 with Norwich in all competitions, and 5 of the last 10 in the league have been draws, which may not make too bad reading for Canaries fans. But as we, of course, said earlier, only 106 points per player accumulated for the Norfolk side with ultimate fans so far, compared to Everton's 273. Big players missing for Everton. Of course, it sounds like James Rodriguez is going to be moving to Qatar. Richarlison, Seamus Coleman, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Jordan Pickford, potentially all doubt as they missed the defeat to Villa on Saturday evening. But I'm backing Solomon Rondon here. He scored against Norwich in a West Brom shirt, and 10 of his last 15 goals in the league have been when he was representing the home side. So it may be a sort of happy return to Goodison Park for Rondon. And I'm going to back Everton, I should say, just to squeeze past Norwich here. I'm going to go for a 1-0 home win. Leeds United against West Ham United. Tom.
So Leeds still yet to win a game this season. The could have taken the game away from Newcastle last time out, but obviously Saint-Maximin equalised and ended up as a draw. West Ham are still in decent form. They probably should have drew against United if it weren't for that strange penalty decision in the last minute. But David Moyes' side come out on top in both fixtures last season. But a full Ellen Road could make things a bit more difficult. But I am going to go for a 1-1 draw. And my player to watch is going to be Thomas Soucek. He hasn't scored this season, but he, as we all know, he is a danger in the opposition area. And Leeds under Bielsa have looked a bit suspect to conceding from set pieces. And as well as that, he scored against them at Ellen Road last season, so he could well do it again this season.
Share of the balls in East London, says Tom. Leicester City against a struggling Burnley, Reece.
Yeah, Burnley have really been struggling. I mean, they've had a really poor start. Only 1 point picked up and 9 goals conceded in the first 5 games. So they're not the defensive stalwarts that we know they can be. Leicester were unlucky to lose against Brighton. I feel VAR played a major part in that game, and they haven't had the greatest start either. They've only picked up 6 points in 5 games. So for a team pushing the top 6, it's not the start that you want. But I think Burnley will struggle again here, and I think Leicester could, breeze past these lots. So I'm going to go with a 2-0 Leicester win. And my player to watch, even though he was considered an absolute nightmare last time out, I'm going to go with Harvey Barnes. He can finally get his season off to a good start against Burnley, and he's had 5 goal contributions against Sean Dyche's side. So I think he could easily be involved in a goal if he can put that performance behind him from last week.
Yeah, another home win then, or I suppose they only be the second home win so far for Leicester. They, of course, did beat Wolves, beaten by Manchester City. But as you say, kind of not the best start for the Foxes this year either, but with a bit more fortune in their favour. They may return to winning ways against Sean Dyche's Clarets. Watford welcome Newcastle United to Vicarage Road. Newcastle have won just 1 of the last 10 in all competitions against the Hornets. 3 of those have been at or in Hertfordshire. They did pick up a draw there. I think it was a couple of seasons ago. Both sides have scored 6 goals in total this campaign, but Steve Bruce's men have conceded 5 more and still remain without a win. And after a double at the weekend, only Mo Salah has had more shots on target than Ismail Assar, who's now the 5th most deadly UF attacker heading into game week 6. He's my player to watch. I think he'll get a few more points on the board this weekend, and I'm going for a 2-0 home win here. I think Watford, of course, has tasted victory on home soil against Aston Villa early this campaign. I expect them to do the same once again here. Brentford against Liverpool, I believe this is the evening kickoff, Tom.
Yeah, great win for Brentford last time out. Wolves were poor though, it has to be said. And then another 3-0 win for Liverpool as they beat Palace at home. There were a couple of sort of sticky moments for Liverpool, but they did end up keeping the clean sheet and scoring 3 goals. So it just shows sort of what a good side they are. Brentford will prove to be a tough test though. They've only lost once this season. They are, difficult to beat, but I do think Liverpool will get the win. I'm going to go for 2-0 Liverpool win. And Mo Salah to be the player to watch. He's in great form. He scored yet again at the weekend. He's now got 4 goals and 2 assists in just 5 games, which is a very good record. And as you said, he's the highest scoring player in Ultimate Fan now. So it wouldn't be too much of a surprise to see him on the score sheet on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to pack Mohamed Salah. Been a long time waiting, but I'm rubbing my hands at the idea of getting him one day. So it's Mo Salah once again for Tom and a Liverpool win. And then we move to the South Coast, Reece, where Wolverhampton Wanderers head to St Mary's.
Yeah, Wolves were soundly beaten by Brentford and Molineux, and there was no argument. They were poor. All the promise that they showed in previous losses earlier in the season had been undone by that performance alone. But Lager, he's not afraid to be attacking, and I think that should be a positive to take from the Wolves' performance. I mean, he had 5 attackers on in the last 10 minutes of the game, so he's not scared to throw all out attack onto the pitch. Southampton fought well for a point against Man City, and it's probably going to be their performance of the season without a doubt. they were defensively solid against the champions, and I think it's going to take a lot to top that performance. Wolves have scored at St Mary's in their last 5 meetings, so I think Southampton might be a bit of a struggle at home against the Wolves. And the Wolves have even scored 5 goals in the last 2 visits to St Mary's, so I think that should be noted as well. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I don't think Southampton have enough to win a game at the moment, so I'm going to go with player to watch for me. He's going to be on the Wolves team as well. I'm going to go with Raul Jimenez. He's netted 3 goals in his last 3 meetings against Southampton, and he's been showing signs that he's getting back into the way that he was and before his injury. And I think he could net a goal at St Mary's on the weekend.
Yeah, Wolves fans will be happy to hear that. Obviously, we can all agree it's great to see Raul Jimenez playing football once again, and despite a sort of a struggling start, which culminates, like you say, in that fairly straightforward win for Brentford on the weekend. Wolves will be hoping that they can sort of get back to winning ways after they brush Watford aside, and look what Watford have done since. So it's a share of the spoils for Reece on the South Coast. I've got the sort of the privilege of, I suppose, talking us through the North London derby, which I'm very, very much looking forward to. I'm not sure the same will be said from either a Gunners fan or a Spurs fan. Plenty of nerves jangling, no doubt, ahead of Sunday's tie. Spurs have only won once at the Emirates Stadium since 2010, and that was in a League Cup fixture. Of course, Arsenal beat and kept clean sheets in the last 2 games. But they were against the 2 worst Ultimate Fan sides in Norwich City and Burnley. And Arsenal have only beaten Spurs once since 2018. Nuno Santo, on the other hand, has never lost at the Emirates as a boss, and that including a double with Wolves last campaign. And coming back to this point I was alluding to earlier, Tom, Harry Kane scored 11 goals in 13 Premier League appearances against Arsenal. So a very interesting stat, although Spurs were pretty sort of hapless in the other London derby on Sunday against Chelsea. The statistics read certainly very good for their number 10 striker heading here to sort of just south of Tottenham to Islington. I believe this will be a draw. I can't really see either team being good enough to beat the other at this point in time, but I do think that Harry Kane at some point will get on the score sheet, and he's my player to watch, and a share of the spoils in the North London derby, which I don't particularly think either fan would be too adverse to. We have another derby, Tom, on Monday evening, Crystal Palace against Brighton, which concludes game week 6. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so Palace, as I said earlier, they look quite good against Liverpool despite losing 3-0. They hit the post a couple of times. Edouard probably should have scored. And then, once again, as I said earlier, Brighton have started really well. They're unbeaten. They'll be really, really pleased with the way they've started. But Palace were unbeaten in the last 4 against Brighton, so I'm actually going to go for a 1-1 draw with Wilf Zaha as the player to watch. He's got 7 goals and 2 assists from 13 games against Brighton, so it's some record. And he as a Crystal Palace fan, he sort of knows sort of what it means to be playing in these sort of games. So I can see him adding to that tally this weekend.
Those are our predictions for game week 6. We'll come back, of course, and review them on next week's episode. Good luck with your Ultimate Fan teams ahead of game week 6. Of course, there's an £8,500 prize pot up for grabs, being with a chance of winning a share of that by selecting your teams ahead of the half-12 fixtures on Saturday. Chelsea versus Manchester City and Aston Villa heading up to Manchester United. Tom and Reece, of course, will be providing more content ahead of game week 6's fixtures later in the week. Are the best performing Ultimate Fan teams from game week 5, defenders, midfielders, attackers, all which will hopefully help you in selecting your team. And of course, our weekend bankers, which will be live on Friday, where we select our players to be your Golden Boot and captain selections. So Tom and Reece, once again, Thank you very much for your time. Good luck with your teams for Ultimate Fan ahead of game week 6. Some more fantastic Premier League action to come, and we'll look forward to catching up with you on next week's show.
Cheers.
Yeah, speak to you next week.